Initiating moisture.
Morbius is absolutely miserable. I can completely confirm that everything you've heard about it is absolutely true, and it's even worse than you're probably thinking it is. It's not so bad that it's entertaining like I expected it to be. It is mind-numbingly boring. It was agonizing. I was in a constant struggle to stay awake for the movie. I cannot believe that they even bothered to release this. They should have just scrapped it and said it got stolen in a burglary or something. It should not have gone to theaters. When watching Morbius, I felt like I time traveled back to 2004 when almost every superhero movie was trash, like Elektra and all that. That's what this movie felt like. I feel like at some point along the way there was an idea for Morbius, and then they overdosed on Xanax and then produced this. It is, in all aspects, lackluster. Top to bottom. There is almost nothing redeeming about this movie. But Jared Leto made history. Not with like a great performance here or anything, but he now has one of the worst DC movies ever made with Suicide Squad 2016, and now one of the worst Marvel-based movies ever made with Morbius. This is crazy how hard this one missed the mark. So let's just go ahead and get started talking about the movie. Let's get after it. Let's get a little stinky in the cesspool. The story, it's trash. It's the most predictable superhero plot I think I've heard since the creation of the MCU. There is no attempt here to make a compelling narrative whatsoever. Everything you think is going to happen in this movie happens. If you watch the trailer to this movie, you probably already know everything that's going to happen in this movie with the characters. It's just a complete throwaway. There was no effort there whatsoever. It's like they had an AI write this plot after the AI sat down to watch 3 superhero films from the late 90s. It didn't try, didn't bother. So, not a whole lot to say there, just wasteful. I will say, though, that this movie feels like it was supposed to be completely different than what we got. It feels like all of the editing really betrayed it. Not that I think there's some Snyder cut version out there that's going to somehow save this absolute abominable septic tank explosion, but it definitely feels like it was changed drastically from the editing with a lot of shit removed, because it moves so quickly all the time when it comes to exposition. It gives you so much info in the fastest time possible with this absolutely ballistic speed run of vomit of information, and then things will just happen for no reason. Like, things will just happen with nothing that really got you there or made you care about it. There's not a single character in this movie that you will give a fuck about. The characters don't seem to give a shit about themselves either. Like, one of the main detectives, every time he's on screen, he's like, oh my god, more dead bodies. Oh my god, dead cops in my city? Not now. Why would he do that? And then at the very end of the movie, I'm gonna try and avoid spoilers, but this movie fucking sucks. I'll give you a spoiler warning if I get into it. This might be a minor spoiler. In the movie, there's a bunch of bats that fly out of the ground, and the cops are looking down, and they're like, oh, bats. Except for one of the cops, like the main one. The bats are going up, and he just looks at him angry. He's like, He just stares him down. He's like, And that's it. Like, none of the characters have any variety of emotions to them. They're all just like fucking robots. Except for Jared Leto, admittedly, he kind of tries as Morbius. There's times where he, like, gives an attempt at acting. Like, he wasn't horrible in the role. It's just everything about it was bad in general, but it's not because his acting was super turbo shitty or anything. It's just they didn't try anywhere in this film. So yeah, again, I think a lot of what's going to be really confusing to people is because of the editing, where things are happening for no reason, or things are happening like off screen, it feels like, that you just have to accept. It's just bad. Everything about the story, as well as the way that it's edited, is terrible. Absolutely terrible. And let's get to the most offensive part about this movie, is the fighting. The fighting is so disorienting. Anytime there's a fight, it's obviously all CGI, but they do it in a way that obstructs your view entirely. So when Morbius is fighting someone, it's just like a bunch of like smoke and tendrils and like shit flying off of him, a bunch of like really dark particles that obstruct your view. So half the time you don't even know what he did. And when he's fighting the villain, who is horrible, the villain is absolutely nonsensically trash. When those two collide, it's like action figures being blasted together in pure pitch black. Like, you can hear things happening, but you can't see it because both of them have just a bunch of like dark debris flying off of them, so you can't tell what is actually going on screen in a fight. It is disorienting and just genuinely confusing in all aspects. So you're praying that you don't have to see a fight because it just hurts your eyes. It's just bad. Like, it's bad CGI. It's bad everything. Literally everything is not good. I don't know why they even bothered to release the film. They should have just got rid of it. Like, just have some shame. Be like, you know what? This is a net loss, but at least we can save our reputations going further. It just wasn't worth it. I do think this movie was supposed to be R-rated, because in some of the scenes, like when Morbius slashes someone, or what I assume is a slash, because what he does is he like cranks his hand for a slap, and then fucking 1,000 pieces of debris and pixels fly off of him, and you're supposed to, connect the dots that he just slapped or slashed the guy. And then you'll hear a bunch of blood sound effects, like as if their throat just got slashed, but none of it's on screen. There's no like blood on screen or anything, so you're never really sure, but I'm assuming there was supposed to be blood and gore. And there are times where there is like some blood here and there, so you get like the general idea, but I have the feeling, based on the sound effects and the way that it's presented, it was supposed to be a lot more violent and show a lot more blood. But in an effort to keep it PG-13, they decided against it last minute, but they didn't change anything about the scenes, so it's all just a mess. Morbius is horrible. The movie's really, really bad. If I had to fish for one compliment, I would say at least it's not long. Like, at the very least, the movie's short, and the theater is probably empty. My showing had like 8 people in there, and I didn't even see them when I walked in, so they might have just decided not to go last minute, which is probably the right call to make. That's really like the only 2 things I can find to even say almost nice things about. And then there is one cop, like the cop's partner, who has a lot of speaking roles, and I didn't mind him. It looks like he put a lot of effort into his acting. I'm not sure what the actor's name is, or even what the character's name was in the movie. But there was a scene where he like brought holy water to the investigation, and he was charismatic. I liked him. But yeah, that's about it. Plugging Morbius into the moist meter, I'm giving it a 15%. Even that feels a little high, because it's not entertainingly bad, it's really boring bad. Now I feel like I have to justify why I gave it a 15% and not lower, and I think it's because I like some of the ideas. I think Morbius could have been a cool movie conceptually, but this one was just executed so poorly. There's a couple of things in the film, and again, I'm not trying to get too deep into spoilers, that I think could have worked really well if it wasn't this movie that tried them. So I do like a couple of things that it wanted to do, it just didn't do them well. But anyway, that's about it. See ya.